What's your philosophy on sellers doing cold calling to people's cell phones?
Yeah, I haven't answered a phone in 4 years. Like, unless it's my daughter calling, like, I don't know how many times someone is actually answering that call. And I would still say it's the same perspective. Like, how much success are you having calling me, at random without having any connection or research? We encourage people to use their relationships to get a warm introduction into other contacts. And so for me, I had a seller reach out yesterday and say, hey, I'm trying to get into this prospect account. I see that you are connected to their CRO. Could you do a warm intro? And I was like, absolutely. So I sent the CRO a note and said, hey, I would be happy to connect as well too, but here's my seller who's trying to engage with you. Do 15 minutes for a quick call with him? And he was like, absolutely. So I think for me, I would rather invest in taking like 5 minutes in the morning and doing a little bit of research and then asking for a warm connection than getting someone's phone number and calling that CRO. Chances are he wouldn't answer the phone. And even if he did, it's probably not going to get you from point A to point B.
Yeah. So it's the punchline would be warm selling or warm calling is a lot better than cold calling or cold selling.
Yeah. I think the last time I answered a phone, I was expecting a delivery and it was a random phone number, and it was someone who was trying to sell me leads because they thought I was a lawyer and that I might need a list of people who had been in car accidents for personal injury cases. And I was like, this is hilarious. Like, I was more interested in how they got my phone number and why they thought I was a lawyer when all you had to do is look me up on LinkedIn to see that I don't own a personal injury law firm. So the juice is not worth the squeeze there. Like, take the 5 minutes, research to see if that contact has any common connections, and then ask for a warm introduction.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. So you had a cool post. I think it was a team gathering that you had that Lindsay Cole helped put together, and you gave her a nice shout out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without Lindsay Cole. She's like pretty much the most amazing EA and partner one could imagine. And I think that, listen, this is all about like selling in a tough macro. I think the job is tough for everyone right now. And if you don't have people that you can lean on that can help you get shit done, you're going to be in a much tougher position. And I'm fortunate to have someone who is, my partner in all things when it comes to work. And so I wanted to send a shout out to her. We used to be all in the office. She's in Arizona. I'm in Nashville, and I sent her a gift, but I wish I could have, jumped on a plane and taken her out to a nice lunch like we used to do. But I thought at the very least I could send her a nice gift and throw some recognition to her on the platform, because she's amazing.
Awesome. Great job, Lindsay. So Alyssa had a lot of great comments for you. One thing in particular I'd love to hear more about is she says you're a master of frameworks.
Yeah, thank you. That's always nice to hear. I try and distill the complex into something that is memorable. I'm a big fan of creating an acronym when relevant, and giving people something that is tangible. I think that most of what we're doing today can be summed up in 2 or 3 bullet points if you want people to remember. And so I try and do that as often as possible. I even did it with our conversation earlier today with the 3 R's when thinking about deep sales, because you want to give people something that they can take away and then replicate as quickly as possible, that might drive impact for them or otherwise.
Yeah, it was relationships, research, and what was the third one?
Right time.
Right time. There you go. All right, perfect. What about advice for people breaking into tech sales? Obviously, a lot of things. Maybe just pick one.
Yeah. I set expectations in the same way. I've been doing it for 20 years. And so I think this applies to anyone who's stepping into a new sales role. what I expect of my employees, regardless of their level, is attitude, activity, accountability, and then ultimately attainment. So here you go, another framework. And actually, I stole this from a mentor of mine, Chris Timmel. I might have tweaked it a little bit, but the first three are the most important. Show up every day with a positive attitude, right? Yep. It says more about what you can accomplish than anything else. Do the necessary activity, which means not just quantity, but quality. And if you're not sure what the necessary activity is in order to be successful, like grab your boss or a top performer on your team and understand exactly what they're doing and replicating it. If they are doing 7 discovery calls a week and 5 demos and they're closing 3 deals, then that's what you want to do, right? And then the third is accountability. So be accountable for what happens, whether it's good or bad, whether you make a mistake or have success. If you do those 3 things, I am confident you will ultimately drive towards positive attainment. If you come in and you're only focused on attainment and you're not doing the necessary activities and you're not accountable for what happens and you're showing up with a bad attitude, chances are you're probably going to fail in your role. And so for me, if someone can demonstrate, even if they're new in role and they need a minute to ramp, and maybe they're not crushing attainment out the gates, but they're doing those first three things right, I know that they will be successful. And that is proven, tried and true expectation setting for the past 20 years. Like, it works. That's exactly what you can see in all of our top performers.
Totally. I always laugh. You have somebody that, may crush the numbers and they get a bluebird deals, but the behaviors are bad, versus somebody who maybe number is short of goal, but the behaviors are awesome all day long. I'd rather have the person that, has the right behaviors, because, over time, that person's going to be far more successful.
Yeah, they do. Like, it's either like the consistent, right? Because they're doing the right things every day, right, or it's the inconsistent. Like, you win a big one here and then you don't really drive the right behaviors for the next 30 days and then you miss again. So for me, those are keys. If you're stepping into a new sales role, or really any sales role with a level of experience, showing up with a good attitude, driving consistent activity, and then being accountable for what happens is going to help you win.
Great. You do a good job using your acronyms. If I say one thing of grouping a bunch in, so kudos to you. So I'll try it again. So how about if there's one thing, advice for those impacted by recent layoffs in tech sales?
Yeah. So you and I were chatting earlier today about like hidden LinkedIn secrets. So you can actually raise your hand stating that you're open to new opportunity on LinkedIn, and only recruiters see that. And only recruiters see that are not at your current organization. So whether you have been impacted or you're thinking about your next play, you can actually signal to recruiters that you'd be interested in learning more about opportunities. And no one knows but other recruiters. I shared that recently on a call and people were like, really? Wow. The second thing is ask for help. People want to help those who've been impacted by recent layoffs, and they can open up their network. And so if you reach out to someone and say, hey, I could use some help. I'm looking for a role in this type of industry, in this market. I see that you have a bunch of connections there. Any way you'd be willing to open up your network? People actually will, and they want to. I think help is the key, because often people don't use that in the way they're reaching out. And most people actually respond to that. So if someone sends me a message and says, hey, can you help me? I'm like, yes. I don't even know what they're asking. I just saw the word help and I want to help. It's very different than, someone just creating a connection and then hoping that I'm going to reach out to them to help them find a job. I don't even know why they're asking to connect, right? And so I think be clear in what you're looking for, and know that there are people out there that want to open their network, and there's a lot of opportunities for people.
Awesome. And obviously from the sales tools, LinkedIn is the best and the go-to, but I also think you're a big fan of Gong.
Yeah, absolutely. I came from the LinkedIn Talent Solutions business where we first rolled out Gong, and I used to work with Ryan Longfield in that business. When I came over about a year and a half ago to LinkedIn Sales Solutions, we implemented Gong here as well too. I think the key with any tool you're going to put in your tech stack is to understand what the true ROI is and how it integrates with what you're currently doing. I don't want to create tool fatigue for my sellers. I really want them to have the best, which is really about quality, not quantity. I'm not going to add 20 tools into the tech stack. I'm going to be really intentional about what we're going to use and how we can create expertise in that tool, and then go from there. So yeah, Gong is a great tool.
Awesome. So do you use it where you actually can, call recording and use that to coach your sellers? Then you can kind of share, snippets and best practices that way?
Yeah. And at my level, our frontline managers and second line managers are doing a lot of the call coaching. I'll say for me, let's say we roll out a new product and I want to see how often we're talking about that product. We'll look at my entire ecosystem and look to see how often that product was named or called out in the prior week's calls, just to see how the training and implementation and activities around that are actually driving that behavior as like a marketing effort, which I think is really amazing. I mean, I could go on and on. There's a ton of use cases, but I think it is different at the front line than it is at the VP level.
Wow. Awesome. Very cool. So you'd mentioned a mentor before. What's been any advice that you've received, if you want to pick maybe two mentors along the way?
Yeah, that's great. I worked, my first sales leader that I really loved working for, sat me down early on in my career and really was like, hey, you don't lack any of the skills you need to be successful. Like, your biggest area of opportunity is that you don't have a goal in mind. Like, I was, working for autonomy and freedom and flexibility. And I didn't realize the importance of understanding what it is that you want to accomplish. And so I think a lot for her and for me since then, I think a lot of people who are struggling right now probably haven't set a clear goal or objective. Like, they don't really understand the why behind what they're trying to accomplish. And so it feels less purpose driven. And so I know it seems very simple and basic to think about goals, but it's like we are in a immediate gratification society. If I want something, I can order it and have it here in an hour. And so there isn't this like prolonged effort or energy against a long-term goal. And so I think there's an opportunity for us to reset what it is we're trying to accomplish. And if it isn't a prolonged goal that you're trying to reach, it's understanding what the why is behind, doing what you're doing. And so I think there's a lot of folks that are lacking fulfillment because they don't have a purpose, because they haven't thought about the why or the objective behind what they do every single day. So I would say that originally came from the first sales leader that I really enjoyed working for, Susan. Gosh, there's so much great advice I think I've received over the years. I would also say, I'm going to go back to the help thing I mentioned earlier. Yesterday I was asked about the biggest mistake I've made as a leader. And I would say not actually asking for help. I think there's a little fear and imposter syndrome in most of us when we step into a new role. And we surely don't want our boss to think that we were not the person that they should have hired. And I think too many times in my career, I've gone too long before I've raised my hand and said, I need help. And so when I came into LinkedIn, I was really struggling with the way we forecasted. And I was a little intimidated to ask my boss for help. But finally, I after trying to figure it out 20 different ways, I finally sat him down and said, can you please show me how to forecast? And he was more than happy to, grab a marker and a dry erase board and spend an hour to walk me through that methodology. And so I think things are really hard for people right now. And what is making it worse is that people are afraid to ask for help, when I think it's, our responsibility as leaders to ensure that our employees are successful, yet our employees are afraid to ask for help. And so I would say that was also like a good lesson learned, that people are generally willing to show you the way, and that you don't have to struggle on your own. And it's okay to not know everything. Things are changing really, really rapidly.
Well, that's great. Anything else you'd give your younger self advice on?
Someone had said to me once that there was a point in your career in which you were in your like prime earning years. And so I made a lot of sacrifices in that specific time frame to make as much money as possible without really thinking about what was important to me. And I actually think that was a mistake. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's such a thing as your prime earning years. Your prime earning years can be at any point. And also, is that even the most important thing?
I'm 59, so I'm still.
Yeah, maybe that hasn't happened yet for me, but But I think that I over indexed on that statement. And I said, oh my gosh, like I might only have this 10 years to make as much money as I possibly can. And then my income will start to decline. And I think that was the wrong direction. Good news is I figured that out shortly into that misunderstanding. And I realized that I was actually and should be on a constant skills journey. So my objective then switched from how much money can I make to how much can I learn? And so everywhere I went, I was on this pursuit of new skills I could acquire. And that's when I think I hit my prime earning years, is because the more skills I acquired, the more success I found, and the more opportunities that opened up. And so I think, if I could go back and tell myself something, it would have been like, don't worry about the money. Like, just continue to go on this path of being a constant learner and acquire as many skills as you possibly can, and like love what you do. The Happiness Advantage, great book. It says like people who are successful aren't successful because they made a ton of money. They're successful because they do what they love and what they're passionate about, and then the success comes. And I think the inverse is really important to understand.
Awesome. Well, we're just about at the end. We touched on lots of great topics. You've been fantastic. Anything else that you're particularly passionate about that we did not cover?
Yeah, I would say if anyone's on the call and I can provide any help or resourcing, don't hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Our team wants to ensure that not only talent is successful in finding new opportunities and hiring managers are successful in finding talented candidates, but also that sales professionals are successful in finding prospects and building those relationships, and that buyers can use LinkedIn as a way to improve their experience and solve their biggest problems. And so we just want to be a help and resource. So if there's anything we can do, please feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Well, you've been fantastic. Thank you, Kimberly. And then Angela was also behind the scenes helping get this together for us. So thanks to Angela. Thanks for Tucker. Also working on the tech with all this. And next week, we have episode number 124 with Jeff Deppa, who is the CRO of Gainsight. I think they're probably the leader on the customer success side of things. So that will be interesting as well. So everybody that's watching, thank you so much. And for those, a lot that are going to be watching the recording, obviously LinkedIn, a lot of cool ways, as much as you may think LinkedIn and you're using it, a lot of other ways that you can use it different and better. And then Kimberly, so if somebody's watching and they say, okay, hey, how do they, obviously there's LinkedIn learning tools, anything particular or any direction that you would give them if they want to know how to leverage LinkedIn even more?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to LinkedIn Learning. There's a ton of resources there. If it's specifically around Sales Navigator, reach out to me. I'll make sure that someone on our CS team engages with you to give you a training or a tip there. And I would say, think about your objective with LinkedIn. What is it that you want to get out of the tool? And then work backwards, right? So whatever that problem is that you're trying to solve or that objective that you have, start there, and then you're more likely to find the outcomes that you want. If you're not seeing value from LinkedIn today, it might be because you've missed that step in assigning your objective and then ensuring that the platform is working for you. So good luck, everyone. If there's anything I can do, please let me know.
Awesome. All right. Thanks. Have a great day. Great week.
Thanks, Randy. You too.